Hi, my name is Carrie McEwen, and I want to talk to you about using audio recordings in the elementary classroom, specifically focusing on how it can be a great benefit to both the teachers and the students, and how I plan to implement this amazing source of technology into my own classroom. When thinking about audio recordings, it's important to realize that it's a digital piece of technology that allows the user to voice record content, listen to different forms of media, and collaborate with others on various projects just through the use of their voice. With this in mind, I think that audio recordings should be implemented in the classroom because they are an engaging source of content for students. Bruce Bebb reported for Lightspeed Technology that the use of audio files in the classroom has led to a direct increase in student enthusiasm to learn, along with a desire to read and give presentations orally. It also is a great source of differentiation as it allows the adaptation of lesson and roles of students to meet different academic needs and learning styles. Essentially, it's a great way to accommodate a variety of students with just one piece of technology. I think that it's incredibly important to make sure that when implementing the use of audio files in the classroom, we think about how students can benefit. One way is through creating audiobooks. And there are two main ways that I'm thinking about doing this. The first would be through having the students pick their favorite book and then recording themselves reading it. This recording will then be uploaded on our classroom website for students to refer back to. Students will be able to pick their own recordings or other students' recordings to listen to, and this will just provide a more versatile reading experience. And this will encourage students to read even when they may not be able to actually take out a book. Instead, they can just listen to one. The second idea relates to audiobooks in the forms of students using them to tell their own stories. So my idea is that students will be able to write their own story in the classroom, either fiction or nonfiction, and then after publishing it within the classroom, they will be able to record themselves reading the story, and then this can be sent out to families, to our classmates, and to the whole school if needed. This is a great way to share our stories and our ideas, especially when students' writing is not always that legible. I also think that it would be a great idea to have students respond to prompts through audio recordings. And this is because sometimes it's hard for students to really put their thoughts onto paper. So this will kind of combat that by allowing some to do audio recordings at times. It's also a great way to really just quickly check for understanding and check to see where students are at in mastering a concept. I also think that this will be a great use of creating a presentation. Students can record over their slides and present it to the class, and this is a great way to scaffold public speaking. A lot of students, especially just starting out, are not that comfortable in presenting a slideshow in front of the entire class. Therefore, recording everything that they want to say over a slide and presenting it that way kind of prepares them to present it themselves. This also provides students with the opportunity to post these presentations on our Google Classroom so that other students can look back at it if they are teaching themselves the concepts. It's also important to remember that teachers can also benefit from the use of audio recordings, especially as they will be able to trial and error a lot of the things that the students are going to be doing. One idea that I have is for teachers to keep recordings of more difficult lessons or concepts on their computer so that they can be referred back to. And this will really help with both substitutes and reteaching concepts. I've been a sub myself, so I know how hard it is sometimes to go into a class and have to teach a lesson that you had no prep for, especially when it's a more difficult one. So I think that having these types of things on file will really help the subs to teach that lesson, primarily because they can just play the recording of you teaching it, and then the students will be able to just follow along with your recording. This goes hand in hand with reteaching concepts. Sometimes it's not possible to always reteach a concept to an individual student. There's just not enough time in the day. So when a student is struggling, I can send them the audio file of the concept that they are struggling with, and then they can listen to it and come back to me with any questions that they still have. It will be a more in-depth audio file that will really help them further understand the concept. I also think that providing feedback through audio can be incredibly beneficial to students. This is because through audio feedback, students are really able to distinguish our tone and really realize if they are meeting expectations or not. Along with this, teachers will be able to explicitly state the students' feedback so the students know exactly what they are going to do for the next assignment, which can be really beneficial. I also think it's really important to involve family as much as possible in student learning to really encourage that student to meet expectations. What I have for this is almost like a secret reader. So my plan is for parents to volunteer to send me recordings of them reading a book. Then every couple of weeks I will play this audiobook to the class and they will have to guess who it is. This will add a sense of surprise and excitement to our class and really just motivate the students to read and want to follow along with the story. I also am planning on using audio recordings for my students to interview their families for different projects. This can be really helpful as recording instead of having to write down notes will let the student engage in the conversation more and ask the questions that they need to ask. They can also implement the audio from the interview into their project to add a first-hand account and experience that the rest of the students can really connect with. Lastly, I think that it would be beneficial to have a weekly podcast in which the students are able to describe what they learned that week. And then at the end of the week, the students will send this out to their parents, and the parents will be able to listen to what the students have to say and really connect deeply with their child's learning and understand what's going on in the classroom. Overall, I think that audio recordings are incredibly beneficial, especially as they relate heavily to the ISTE standards, which work to make sure that students are receiving what they need in regards to technology in the classroom. They relate specifically to the Empowered Learner standard, as students are learning to use their voice, the Knowledge Constructor standard, as students produce creative content digitally, and Creative Communicator, as students express themselves on a different form of digital media. Overall, students are really learning to communicate their ideas positively and clearly through audio recordings. And I'm so excited to use audio recordings in my own classroom one day. And I hope you are too after listening. Thank you so much for your time.